Pentecost Swiss Radio. We hope you have tuned in, and we want you to send a link to a friend and tell them to send it to a friend, to send it to a friend. It's going to be amazing this evening. You don't want to miss this show. We are live on YouTube as well. Click on the link and be blessed. We're just trying the microphones out. So guys, let's hear your microphones.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Wow, it's going to be amazing this evening. Thank you for tuning in. It's the Friday night show right here on Pentecost Swiss Radio. It's going to be amazing this evening. I have some beautiful ladies and gentlemen with me this evening, and I would like them to introduce themselves before we come with the next segment.
Hi, this is Mickey. I'm sure you know my voice.
Hi, this is Prince.
Prince, you're too gentle. Master, you are too gentle.
Who are you? Tell them, who are you?
Well, I'm Prince, as already mentioned, leader of King's Club at Pentecost, youth, and I'm also currently working in the telecommunication industry.
Oh, we didn't ask for a CV.
I am actually going to find out where they're from because I want our viewers to understand our viewpoints.
Ah, okay. So,
yeah.
We hear you.
Didn't come to rehearsal, did you?
All right.
So hi everybody, I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
No more. Okay. I'm Jennifer, and I am working in the reinsurance industry.
Lovely.
As a risk manager.
Wow. So we have a risk manager. We have
specifically in the procurement finance.
Procurement, somebody who convinces people to buy things they don't want to buy. They make deals.
Yeah. What about you? You
what
are
about?
part of
I work
well.
in production.
Okay.
I work in production.
Who are you?
For
What
now.
is your name? What is your background? We need to know. I want
Yehovah,
everyone.
I'm the one
Yes.
hosting, so you don't get to ask me that.
You know-
Okay, so let me tell you. Yeah, my name is Ernest. I'm also in PIWC Zurich, and I work in production now, but I also do content marketing. So I love stuff like this. I love stuff like this.
Okay, so where did you grow up? I just want everyone to know where we are coming from in our views and where we literally come from. Where are we coming from? I'm going to ask everyone.
I grew up in Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Ghana, West Africa, to be precise.
Woo!
Partly in Tema, and then partly in Opon Valley.
Okay, more I do not need to know.
Yeah, you asked for that. You asked for that. I'm also a half caste.
Oh
wow.
Yeah.
Actually,
because
my
my father is from Izima and my mother is from Ghana, so it's
I did not know this. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. What about you, Prince? Where you're from? What's your background like?
Yeah, basically also, how should I put it? I grew up part here and then part in Ghana.
Where are we?
In Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
Specifically Canton Zug.
Okay.
Yeah, and then at my teens I went back to Ghana, and then let me say I had my teens to my early 20s also in Ghana, and then I studied over there, and now I'm back.
Lovely. What about you, Chris?
I was born in America.
Wow.
But I grew up partially in the Philippines and mostly in Switzerland.
Okay, so Asia, Europe, America. So you've covered three
You've been to all there.
No, there is no. Okay, never mind. We are not here to test my geographic skills. How about you, Jennifer?
Well, I was born in Ghana, and I had my early years in Ghana, and I moved here for my teens, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. About myself a little, I was born and raised in Switzerland, spent 10 years in the UK studying, and then moved back. So basically, we are a well-traveled team today. Woo!
Nice.
Well-traveled, we've seen a lot, we've experienced a lot, we've heard a lot, which brings me to my topic today. And today, actually, not such a joyful topic, but something that needs to be taken seriously and needs to be discussed so that people around us understand what is happening, what they can do, and I'll jump right in. Cool. Right, so amidst COVID-19, as if we're not already going through enough, there's currently a very violent protest going on in the US of A. I'm sure you have heard. If you haven't, you might live under a rock. I don't know what's going on. But basically, the black population in the US of A, let's say it like that, feel disrespected because, as in the past, the African American people are still being killed by the police for no apparent reason. And I say that with air quotes so that we can argue about this a little bit more. And before we go deeper into this, I just want to give out a disclaimer. I don't want anyone to be offended tonight. When we talk about race, it is just our sad reality at the moment, things we face on a daily. And we just want to give you a viewpoint from a Christian perspective, and how we should tackle this or deal with this in a godly manner. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Yeah? Shall we go in? So how is everyone doing today?
All good,
Just
all good.
generally.
Great.
Really? Just great? Really?
Yeah. To be alive is a blessing. So
Indeed, that one is true. That one is true. But how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Life is good. By
I'm
the grace of God.
confused.
You're confused.
Yeah.
What causes your confusion? What's going on?
You know, like, I don't know, like, I can't say I'm good. You know, like when someone asks, how are you doing? You normally say I'm good. But in this situation that we are in right now, I can't really say I'm good because it sort of makes me think a lot lately, you know. And obviously I can't and I would not in its entirely understand what the Black Americans are going through, right? Because I'm not there, and I'm not experiencing what they are experiencing in life, but I somehow can understand it from a certain point, as in the exposure to racism, right? So I am a bit torn. I'm very much.
But what taunts you? I mean, you can see what's going on. Why are you torn? Like how?
Like I'm torn not in a way like torn not in a way like do I support it or do I not? No, I fully support it. And something that you mentioned like a very violent protest. Well, it was not supposed to be violent, and that was not the.
What was it supposed to be? Let's make it clear for everyone. What is going on? Because I feel like, well, I started this off wrongly. Sorry, but we are kind of covering what's going on. We are not being specific.
Yeah.
What is going on? The reason why I say very violent is because this is what the headlines are saying at the moment. How do you feel? Anyone?
Concerning the riots or concerning
Whatever,
what happened?
because we haven't elaborated it right
okay,
now.
so
what's going on?
So basically what's happening is that as in the past, police officers have been killing African Americans for no reason, not just apparent, but like you can see it. It's been on video over the past 10 years.
Right.
And more often than not, these officers haven't been held accountable when you have clear evidence and it's being ignored by the people in power. And that's exactly what people are getting mad about.
Right. People, are you included in here?
Of course, I'm included in that.
Okay.
I'm American myself,
Right.
and seeing this to other Black Americans, definitely frustrates me.
Okay. So, just quickly, where do you come from? Because I want our viewers to understand who feels the way they do and what is the reason now. So can you just explain where you're from, why you feel like this also affects you?
Yeah. So like my mother, she's from the Philippines.
Right.
My father's from America. He's from Chicago, and he's Black man. So.
Right. Okay.
So that's why I feel that way.
I see. What about you? You haven't said much. You have a lot to say.
Because probably my views on this will be contrary to your views on this.
What is it? Let's hear it.
So this is how I see all of this. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised. because what we are seeing are just symptoms of a system that has been in place for a very long time, and most of the time something happens and it triggers the symptoms, and then we sort of react, and after a while we go to sleep, we go to eat our dinner, and everybody goes to sleep.
Then it's done.
I mean, for some few months now, it's COVID-19. Like, we just dropped COVID-19 and we are on the next one.
Yeah.
So it's like we get busy, we get the social media attention, we do all the stuff that we have to do, and then at the end of the day, it's as if nothing happened. It just belongs to history. So I say that I'm not surprised, because the root cause has to be dealt with, and until we get to the root cause of it, we'll have these symptoms. This is not going to be the first or last. It's going to happen again. So that's why I say that I'm not surprised. Probably we need to take a different approach, and people go on the street in the name of protests, but then you watch what they do. They go to take stuff that doesn't belong to them and all that. So we have a fundamental problem as people, as human beings. And until we deal with those fundamental issues, we're going to have stuff like this all the time. Right. And that's why I say it doesn't surprise me, because this is not the first time something of this sort is happening. Just
before we go into the approach and the way we're handling it, does that mean you have become immune to it? So many killings have happened that no
rational being can ever, I don't know, maybe some people can become immune to killings. The life is sacred. Life is so precious. We can never create life, so you can never take a life. We can never get immune to killing. I think that we need to go beyond the surface. We need to go beyond the protests and look at the things that are fundamental. Otherwise, this is just another show.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to take note of that. What do you say?
Yeah. Basically, I will second what Elder just said. Why? Because I'm also really totally not surprised.
Really?
I'm so not surprised, because it has been happening in the past, and it has been reoccurring. I mean, this sorry if I'm wrong with the name, the Aubrey guy who went for jogging and then was shot.
Okay.
And then that was just, I think, an interval of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And this one also happened.
Yeah.
So it has been going on, as Elder said.
Yeah.
And then to tackle this, or to get this out of the system, goes beyond what we are doing with this protesting. Okay. Because at the end of the day, even others are even taking advantage of it and doing shop and all that. Yeah. So it really goes beyond that, what we are doing with the protest now.
Okay, so but then how else can we just, as common human beings, just tackle this? As you said, like the fundamental, how do we get inside of this? How do we get deep into this so that we can fix the root, so that whatever grows out of it will be human?
What is the topic for today's discussion?
It's just what's going on. I really wanted to raise awareness.
You sent me the topic. I want you to mention the topic.
Oh, right. Okay, so the official topic is Christianity and racism.
Thank you. Let's look into that.
Okay, then take the lead.
No, I mean, this is not a one-on-one interview. So
No, I can tell you the purpose of this discussion. So really and truly, I wanted us to raise awareness of what is going on, but also from a Christian point of view, because many people think that, yeah, we are Christians, we think we are perfect, things that go on around us that do not affect us, whereas we are broken. We are also broken, as the saying goes, or as people say, church is like a hospital for the broken. So we coming here and saying we are Christians does not mean we are immune, or what goes around us or what we are exposed to does not affect us. So I just wanted to raise an awareness of what is going on now and how we Christians are handling it. So from the point of view of a Christian. And yes, have you got your answers?
Other panels.
I mean, Jennifer, you're very quiet. You said you feel very torn.
No, so the thing is, I don't know, but like from the, I hope people can hear me. From what I've heard from Elder Ernest and Prince, I'm just of a different opinion. That's why I was just listening in. As in, we are not surprised. Yes, we are not surprised what is happening. Yes, that is true. but as in, people, the way that we are handling it. And that's why I pointed out what you said before, that violent protest was going on. And that is something I would just want to correct, because that was not the intention. The intention was it's like being bullied in school, and you are not speaking up, and you are just saying, I'm not going to speak up because I'm not surprised. Then you are just going to stay bullied without saying anything, And I think what the African Americans were trying to achieve with the protest was to just speak up for the leadership, like you said, the system, to take note of what is happening, and to sort of report as a bully, hey, we are here. This has been happening years before this. We can't stand it anymore. That's what they were trying to achieve.
Right.
And obviously, people would take advantage of that and make it violent. And I saw somewhere on social media that even like someone was taking a walk, and even like the people breaking stuff and destroying stuff sometimes are not African Americans,
right,
because they don't understand really what the purpose of it is. But I still think that trying to communicate the hurt, trying to communicate the what is happening on an official way, trying to, right, is an approach. Maybe there is a better approach, okay, but right now, from what we've seen, this is what people can do. And like I said, and I will repeat it again, it was not supposed to be violent. It was supposed to be a peaceful, hear us, things are happening, leadership, do something, because we know like what had happened. The 4 policemen were not dealt with until this protest happened.
Yeah.
And obviously, it was not supposed to do it and arrest the 4. It was do it, arrest the 4, and fix it. That's why I was just quiet listening, because for me, how else do you want to approach this? Not violent, yes, but how else?
Yeah, no, honestly, how else? Because obviously, we Christians, we stand for peace. We stand for peace. Let me say peace again. But like
love, patience.
Many things, many good things, but the way things are going right now, it does not really reflect how Christians would have liked for it to go. So how do you think, you've all mentioned the approach and how we should how it should be handled? How else do you propose this should be handled? Are we handling it well? Go on.
Well, I believe before we actually answer that question, we have to try to at least understand where the African American community is coming from, because here you have a people that were taken from Africa like hundreds of years ago, and for hundreds of years have been singing hymns, praying to God, being peaceful, forgiving, loving their neighbors, praying for their enemies and loving those who hated them. And at one point, people ask themselves, where has this gotten us? And I'm not condoning the looting, I'm not condoning the violence, but we have to try and understand that this is a certain group of people that has been trying to do things peacefully and yet has not been heard. It's 2020 and people are being shot in their own country. Americans, black Americans, but yet Americans are being shot in their own country. So we all know that as Christians, we should forgive and we should love and be peaceful and all of these things. However, it's gotten to a point where, it's gone overboard now, and these are what we're seeing are the fruits of it, and
I actually think what's going on, yes, it will outrage others, and it will draw the attention to that people who have never heard of it or have never had to deal with this. But I actually think the more effective way is when our counterpart, when the whites do the stand in for us. I don't think us black people doing this is as effective, because we have been made to look like we're the bad ones. We are the aggressive ones. We are the violent ones. So now, if their own white people do that, for them to understand that it's also hurting other lives, then there can be a difference. That's my opinion. So I actually think what's going on now, it's very unfortunate. For me, it's actually gotten too much to the extent that I've deleted my Instagram app, for instance. But I don't think this is the right way. It's happened before, as you guys said.
Well, first of all, if I said or if I mentioned that I'm not surprised for it happening again, Jenny, it's not that I don't feel the hurt. It's not that I don't feel what is going on. I'm immune to it. No, it really hurts me deep down. And it has really had a big impact on me even now. When I step on the street, I feel like, okay, so I'm not living in America though, but when I step on the street over here, I feel like, okay, so...
Wow, really? Here?
Yeah. So, okay, how is it going to happen now? How is even people going to look at me now? You know? So, it has had impact on us all. And then, basically, what I would say as Christians, how we should tackle this or how this can be solved is once again, I mean, I hope and pray that we have, Christians at the, Legislative Council of the United States. And that's where I feel like as a Christian or as Christian individuals over there, they can really push. India, it can come from policies, it can from any other source, but they should really, see it and push it over there, go through the necessary process, and let it happen and let the change happen over there. But because I feel like this protesting, it's having effect on the whole system. It's creating awareness and everything. But how many times have we been on the street? It started from Dr. Martin Luther, and now we are still on the street. So how are we going to find a specific way, moving from the street, but tackling it directly inside the halls or on the seat where policies that are used to govern the nation are made?
Where black people have a seat, have a voice. Do they?
They do.
Wow.
Let me just say this.
Yeah.
I am all for the protests. It's drawn attention. They've achieved some results, so it's good. There's a limit to how much we can discuss and how much data or information we have. So we can make assumptions and all that. And then also there are certain solutions that can only be implemented by those at the top. So
Exactly.
You mentioned who is in the seat and all that. It's really important. However, let's not forget that society doesn't exist in isolation. Society is made up of human beings.
Yes.
Human beings are people that are shaped by society. Human beings are people that come from families. You see, that is what I meant by we need to go to the fundamentals, because where we have lots of people broken, lots of people, when I say broken, I mean people that are really empty on the inside, and so whatever they are doing, they feel like this guy that plays his knees on the guy's neck till he choked to death. You just have to realize that here is a guy that is obviously, I don't know what kind of spirit is ruling him, but I really wanted to avoid going that direction, and I wanted you guys to speak, but obviously you will not go that direction. But this is my point. We are broken as people, and that's why I keep talking about man's depraved nature. Until we fix our depraved nature, no matter what we do, whether it is black or white or pink, we will not be able to produce a loving society. It won't work, because what is the standard of measure? Who determines who deserves? Who determines who has the right and who doesn't have the right?
Yeah.
Where we get to the point where we neglect God, because we feel that we are so prosperous and all that, and everything about God is relegated to the background. So what is the standard of morality for us? If we could go back and fix our homes, fix people, then all of this will not be an issue, because people are out there protesting genuinely, but other people, and you mentioned that you saw some white people stealing as well, but I saw lots of black people going in for Nike, going for sneakers. For them, that's the highest thing they can. You see, you limit yourself to sneakers. Like people are walking into stores, loading such stuff that It's amazing. Somebody has died. Somebody has lost their lives, and you just go pick up shoes.
Yeah.
We are so broken. And so it's really unfortunate. And I really hope the protests cause. I mean, initially they said it was a third-degree murder, and now they changed to second.
What does that even mean? I don't
It
know.
means that it happened by accident.
Okay.
That's my basic understanding. I'm not a
Right.
legal practitioner, but
Okay.
and it came to the second, and hopefully it comes to the first one. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
There has to be justice.
Yeah.
But I keep saying, we need to fix ourselves as individuals.
Okay.
That is my view.
Okay. Because I actually think you mentioned Nike stores and the stores that certain people are looting, not necessarily black people, but I think we are also, by doing the protest the way it's going, we're actually ruining our own communities, because in the end we are the ones who have to pay more taxes in the end to fix these things. I think, unless I'm wrong. Yeah, go on, just jump in.
So one thing I'd like to say, yes, there are a lot of people that are looting their own communities and unfortunately destroying their own communities, but we also have to mention there have been many videos going around where you see police officers breaking their own cars in their uniforms, police officers breaking stores, police officers loading loads of bricks on the streets randomly.
To do what? To achieve what?
So that they could probably have a reason to be violent with the people and say, hey, you guys are tearing things up. So while most people are actually doing it peacefully, some police are trying to find reasons to be more violent and to try to make it look like, oh, these people are out here destroying things. So we also have to add that into the equation, because I do think that the majority of the people want to peacefully protest.
Right.
However, you also see police officers attacking those who are peacefully protesting. So I just wanted to say that too.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very important, and that's why I'm so like. It's very important to really recognize the aim of the whole thing, you know, and obviously people will take advantage of it and do other stuff, but that shouldn't, and unfortunately it does, because we are here, you know, discussing about that. It covers the purpose of it, and now you might have seen one or two videos of people going to get Nike, but like Chris said, those videos where you see you see the police trying to sort of be violent against the protest. Now, not even black, because there's not only black people protesting. There are a lot of white people also protesting.
Yes.
So they try to really like create a certain scene to have an excuse to attack them. And that is the videos you see majority of the time. Like those videos I see. I don't know how many videos you saw with Nikes, maybe one,
so many,
but I saw many of videos the other way, you know? So it's very, but I think let's go to the direction maybe that Eldanes was saying, because I don't want to be, I don't want to be, because it's just so sad to just see, you know, people really trying to be heard. And yes, people will take advantage of it and do something else, and that covers the whole effort. That even fellow black people will be like, well, you are, you know, like, it's just a bit.
The reason why I'm saying, I feel like what we are doing, I feel like the white people need to do that, and on our behalf, because then even if the media or whoever is trying to create that scene that you were just talking about, they won't be able to get it. So unless they take over here, I don't think we can ever create the image or communicate our message, what we want to achieve, effectively.
I think there has to be a collaboration, yes, but I don't think that it's only on them. But now, when it comes to Christianity, I believe that all white pastors, or all pastors for this matter, but we're talking about white pastors now. A lot of them have surprisingly, I don't want to say surprisingly, but a lot of them have been silent on this. And that is very disappointing, because if you claim to love Christ and love his people, then how do you turn a blind eye when it comes to murder? How can it be that you're so vocal when it comes to rebuking sin, when it comes to rebuking the LGBT community, rebuking fornication, rebuking sexual immorality, rebuking abortion, but when it comes to killing somebody that's outside of the womb, suddenly you don't want to say anything. And I think it also starts on the pulpit in a lot of areas. So that's on their side, I believe. But there are also other things that we should do ourselves, you know.
I mean, I would say as you were saying that it should come only from the white people, that I disagree. It should come from both parties. We should all join together and fight together, I mean, for the system to change. We need all chances in the system. But I believe that going only on the street
does not help.
Brings nothing.
Yeah.
This needs to be at the chambers where authorities are being...
How do you imagine that to happen?
Fine. It has come to the notice of these leaders through the protest. But at the end of the day, how are we also making sure that the leaders are making sure or bringing it within the institution of governing in America that this is going to change?
I feel like there should be... I'm both ways about it. I agree with what is going on, but I also feel like we need to... I'm saying we, but we need to hit them where it hurts. So it's not the little stores that go up in flames that will hurt them. It's not the neighborhood being loud that will hurt them. It's things that they rely on for the country to function. So for instance, this is just now thinking about it, but like, it's gonna be hard, and I feel silly saying this, but it's like all agreeing not to pay taxes, for instance, like something that will hurt the white man. Sorry, I'm sorry, but something you have to hit them where it hurts, because this is the way it's going now. We have done this before. We've done it peacefully as well, as you said. It has not worked, so we have to hit them. We have to play their game.
But
unfortunately, it won't work like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's what goes around comes around. It's a system in which you also live in, and you Chris will probably know much better. The middle class to the lower class are the minorities are mostly the African Americans and all that. So they will suffer the housing deficit. They will suffer. It will come back
but
to hurt them.
That's what I'm saying. It has to be mutually. I know it's so hard. It's not gonna have. This a girl can dream, but I mean, like that is something that you can't like. United we stand and divided we fall. So if we do it unitedly, it would do something.
That's an interesting view.
I think I really agree with Mickey, and I have a little bit of a disagreement with Elder Ernest and my brother Prince. I think one of the main reasons why you do not see this happening this often to other groups in America, when you talk about the Indians or the Arabs or the Chinese or the Jews, why? Because they have a certain economic power that these people respect. You know, you can't do this to a Chinese American. China would say something, you know, and they would have leverage to make America suffer. You could say the same thing about the Arabic countries or India. For the first time, like that, I've seen it, has, you know, the African Union has been vocal about it, and I think what is important is to have a strong African country that the world respects and that shows solidarity with the diaspora of black people. The other thing is also we need to practice group economics. I'm not saying we should segregate, but if all these other communities find ways to circulate their money in their own communities and prosper that way.
Explain that a bit more. I'm not sure everyone knows.
So circulating money means basically you have a certain community of people. They probably all go to work, but when they spend it in their own community. So that type of money probably circulates in some communities about 16 times before it leaves the community. So 16 hands have actually prospered. In a lot of African American communities, or just a lot of black communities around the world, really, you can see that people go to work. They come home, the first thing they do is they buy Jordans, they buy Versace, they buy Gucci, and then a brother comes to ask you for help. Hey, bro, I'm trying to start a business. Could you lend me a penny or two, or I'm a little bit short on cash, and you say, well, I'm broke.
Are you saying we are not united? Because Is that where you're going?
Business-wise, black folks are not united as they should be. Like we're not united that way. We even like hate on each other's businesses. Let's be real. Like,
But
you know.
that's why I feel like when I actually agree with you in a way, but then that's us admitting to it or making it obvious is giving the other party the chance to say that, well, in that case, it's not okay. That's a bit of a reach, but then it's not just Black Lives Matter. It's all lives, because there are gang violent, black on black crimes, right? And
Lots of them.
yes, and people are saying we kill each other more than other people are killing us.
100%.
So in that case, if you say something like that, you're enabling other people to say, well, do you see where I'm going?
Yes, but that is exactly what it's not about the others. It's not about black man killing black man.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the expectation of an institution, the police, to be protecting the civilians who pay taxes and are not, or just protecting a certain group and killing the other. I find it that is two different conversations.
Right.
The conversation that we are having here is the police brutality. You know, for example, gang violence, right? Normally happens within gangs. Now,
Exactly, yeah.
the police brutality can happen to a wealthy black man, and it can happen to a gang black man, because the assumption is that they are racial profiling. Now, racial profiling will mean that you wouldn't know if I'm rich or not. And that is what we are talking about. So that's like, we should make, the gang brutality that happens in a certain group of black people, and that is not even the topic. The topic is the police, who is supposed to protect, are sort of not protecting, not doing their job.
Okay, so then if someone comes to you about this all lives matter business, this is how you would explain it?
I would say that, yes, all lives matter, but right now we see that black lives are not really in the priority in all the lives. All lives matter. I'm not saying all lives doesn't, but we've seen that police brutality is on the black man's life currently. Now, if that changes, then we can talk about all lives mattering.
Nice.
I saw a pretty good quote that explains it online. It says that if you see one house burning and you call the fire brigade men, and how would you feel if your house is burning and they start watering all the other houses? And they say, well, all houses matter. Well, there's one house that's on fire right now. You need to address that issue. I don't care what was going on in that house, but that's burning. And that's the issue. I think people try to veer off. There are a lot of issues that face the African American community, but right now this one is at hand. Yes, I do think about it, but I think this is a conversation that has to continue after this one is solved. Yes, there's a lot of gang violence. There's a lot of people being killed by gangs that are innocent. That has to also be addressed. We can't ignore that after this, but we have to solve this first.
You did mention the group economics and all that, and I'm quite interested in that one, because
Exactly that.
it's
Awesome.
you see, there's when one loses their identity because of their location, sometimes they've got themselves to blame. When somebody tells you that somebody, an African American wants an African to feel they are different. For a long time, that has been the pattern, and it recently, thank God, is changing. I mean, we've had a year of return, and a couple of people gone to Africa for the first time. That's where you're actually from. And so a lot of changes are needed. A lot of things needs to be done on both sides. The African economies needs to be powerful and all that. But then I think people need to see we are all one. We are beautiful in our diverse cultures and all that. God created us like that. But then we must also value where we come from. It starts from there. You have to value your roots. It starts from there, because if you don't value your roots, then you don't even think of holding. Because if I don't value you, I look down on you, although we are supposed to be from the same place. Then how do I even get into a business venture with you? I'll prefer to spend like I don't want to go into certain details, but when monies leave our hands, where do they go? And all that, like the stuff you were mentioning, it's so common. It's so common with us. So we have to look at all that. But for me, I still believe that if we can fix ourselves as individuals, if we can channel our energies positively, a lot of these things that are going on will not happen. We will not even actually need policies for certain things to take place, because you can't get policy for everything. Even the police don't have rules for everything. Sometimes they have to use their own judgment. Sometimes they have to use their own judgment in particular situations. And if the person is broken on the inside, by broken I mean they don't understand the purpose of life themselves. They just got into. I mean, I saw one video that this guy in a red T-shirt happened to be an FBI guy. Probably you've seen it.
But was it like that? I think it was
he's
not.
an EMT worker or something.
Well, they were Bishop profiling him, and then they handcuff him until they search him, and they realize he's some high profile person. They're like they can't just arrest him. Like,
because he was high profile.
No, they released him because they found out he's got something. I don't know whether he's an FBI or whatever.
Yeah, apparently from the comments below, as they were saying that he's an FBI guy.
Yeah, so. Well, you just go and arrest someone just because they fit a certain description. Yeah. A friend of mine posted on Facebook, her brother that is about 50 years old. I mean, I know that guy. He's tall. Was just picked up by the police because he fits a certain description. So we are broken. That's our problem. We are so broken.
But why is it like that though? I truly don't know. Like, is it like, are they taught to sample people like that? Like, I don't know.
Has
like,
anyone been in the police academy?
Like, I really don't know. Like, I'm really interested. Like, is it the way that they are taught? Like, if you see, like racial profiling and all that?
I don't believe so. I don't believe they are taught like that. I think, like I was mentioning, no matter who you are, even if you're a judge sitting on a case in a high court, a time will come you have to use your own judgment, because you won't have any precedence to use as a point of reference for a case. So you are going to create your precedence, and that is why we get case laws.
Yeah, but why does it happen over and
so
over
what
and
I'm,
over
what
and
I'm
over
trying
again?
to say, what I'm trying to say is that at every point in time, as people, we are going to get the opportunity to make our own decisions, no matter the policies that are in place. We are going to get the opportunity to take the law in our own hands. It's going to be possible, and one way or the other, we can justify after our actions. We can justify, because after arresting the guy, if he didn't have this ID, that they realize, we can't just arrest this guy. They just let him, and then he actually asks for the IDs because he's going to write a report on them. I'm sure they are in hot waters. They could have done whatever they wanted to do with this guy or whatever it is. But my point is, you are going to always be in a point where you make a decision by yourself, and later on you can justify, well, I'm the policeman, I'm doing my duties, I have the right to question in Switzerland. The police have the right to stop you at any point in time, to ask you questions.
And that is what actually is good that you brought it up, like Switzerland. I mean, we have black people here.
It's two different things.
Okay.
How is it different? You've lived in both countries.
Yes, I've been to both countries. It's totally different. Okay, so to the first thing which Elder Ernest said, I have to respectfully disagree as well, because countless police officers in many American states have come out saying that they have been taught to target black and brown people. And the
All right. I understand that you disagree. So let me ask: is it? I don't know about how it works in the U.S. Is there like a different training institution for the black police people and the white police people? Is it like
it's the same, but they're taught to put that aside. So like you'll have a black officer treat a black person bad, you know, if that's what the training is, or if that's not what the official training is. But you know, there are people that have leaked audio and they're saying, hey, why haven't you brought more Latinos and blacks in? And it rubbed a lot of them wrong, and they had to come out to the media and tell them, hey, we quit being officers because this is what's being told to us in the academy. Because when it comes to prison and police in the United States, these institutions are not like Switzerland, because these institutions are funded by corporations, and these corporations actually benefit of black people going to jail, and that's a whole nother discussion.
So
In Switzerland,
it's very deep.
it's deep. Like
Exactly.
in Switzerland, the prison system is owned by the state. The police is owned by the state.
Yeah.
Nobody makes money off anybody going to jail.
I don't want to interrupt again. So how exactly do these corporations benefit from the black man in prison?
Okay,
The free labor.
so I'll make a short example. So you have all these prisons. They're not owned by the states, by the state. So basically, you know, to explain it in an easy way, for every person that's in the jail cell, the state has to pay whoever owns the prison a certain amount for every prisoner.
Yeah.
Now, if they have contracts that say, if let's say, for example, you know, I don't know the exact number. Let's say the inmate count within that jail is below 90%, they're gonna have to pay a certain fine to these investors. So what happens when now you have like 70, like the jail is only 70% full? Now instead, you don't want to pay because that's a financial strain. So what do? You tell your cops, all right, just grab some people and put them in jail. And that's why you have countless people, a countless amount of people that are in jail for no reason, that are facing death sentences for no reason, and have a criminal record for no reason. A lot of these people are innocent, and that's the problem. In Switzerland, it's different because it's by the state. Nobody gains money by that.
But then, unless you have a direct question,
Yeah.
go on. Okay.
Well, I would love to also tackle it from the angle of where you mentioned economic power. I mean, I believe in so much in economic power. I mean, it shows your status. It shows what you can do. And one thing that you made mention of, that the black society is not having enough funds to start their own business ventures. Then at the end of the day, I ask myself this question: okay, fine, I have this great business idea, and I want to fund it. I want to start it. I have a couple of friends. We've been able to mobilize some kind of fund that we can easily start with, but it's not enough. Where do you go next?
Mm-hmm.
You go to the bank, and then you ask for support.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where systematic racism comes in. When you go to America, I found that they have specifically mapped out specific black communities, and then they have identified them that, hey, when individuals from this particular community comes to the area, comes to this bank for money or for funds to start any kind of business they want to, no, we are not going to give it to them. They have 20% chance to get it. But let's say when a white individual also go there to ask for this, the person has 80 to 90% chance to get it because of the community that they are coming from. So if you tell me that my fellow black is not having money to support me, hey, at the end of the day, when we also go to the job site, the income that we are going to receive compared to the other white individual also over there, there's vast difference. Mm-hmm. And how can I also occupy this position that the white individual is also having? Then we go back to the school system, where in this black community, the schools over there, the equipment, the tools that they need to support these kids to grow up or to learn, to equip themselves for the future, is also worse compared to the white communities. What they have over there, the white communities, they are having the best teachers to, lecture them, to take them through the right processes for them to get to the next level. Okay, then we come also over here. A black guy, or let's say another individual, has been able to, focus, study, and get to the university system after completing. And then on their CV, on their CV, that is where they also racial profiling. When they see you, and then they've been able to identify that these specific names in America is associated with the black community and black people. And then when they see this,
Jamal.
you are
need to stop that.
When they see this, you're out of the system.
Yeah.
They place you here. And then a friend of mine in the US has experienced this. He and his colleague completed the same university. He had a better GPA. Their white colleague. He had a better GPA. Unfortunately, they never realized that they were applying for the same job in the same company.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they met, and then the white dude said, "Hey, I'm not at this company at this specific position." And then my friend was like, "Okay, so this is the job description." And he was like, "Yeah, exactly. Did you apply for the same position?" And he said, "Yes." And then the white guy also felt like, "Okay, wow. I mean, he's a far better student with far better qualities."
But then it also, obviously, there is an interview attached to a process as well.
Exactly.
It also depends. I would, again.
Funny enough, do you know one problem?
What?
When I was applying for work over here, and then I attached my picture to the CV. Right. So I sent it to a fellow colleague to also have a look at my CV. And he mentioned, "Hey boy, take your picture out of your CV."
Yeah.
That was the first comment he made. And I was like, "Why?"
Yeah.
He was like, "It is what it is."
Someone once told me to omit my surname, but again, you can't do
Exactly.
that. These things, they will find out anyway.
So it is a
Back to
system.
your colleague, your friend. Would someone, like, because certain people say, specifically white people say, we are a bit too sensitive. In that matter, someone could have just said, well, he didn't sell himself properly in the interview. So are we now being too sensitive, pulling out the black card every time when we don't get something we think we deserve?
It's not about being sensitive. The point is, fine. I love the fact that when I was applying job over here, and then my current place that I'm working, I went for the interview. And what did they do? They called another individual for reference.
Which they do, right?
Yeah,
it's a standard process.
Exactly. So they called this person, and then the person also give the testimony about me to them, and then hey, here I get the job. But over there, and then I asked my friend, so now you guys both went for the interview, right? And he said yes. And then at the end of the interview, what was the comment? He said that it was great, and I mean, he knew so much about the company and all that. So then I asked him why did they choose the white guy over you? Obviously, you have the better qualities, of which the white guy also testified to it that this guy is better than me.
But it could just be a matter of selling yourself properly. I don't know. I
think that we can't do much of that. Experience because a lot of things happen during job application and processes, and of course, there's discrimination all over the place. But we have to look at the wider picture in connection to the topic we are discussing.
Yeah, I would have gone there right now, but like these things that I said, these are just examples of things that other people would say in argument or disputing our arguments. So these things are the stuff that I've heard. Sorry. So I just before we dive into Christianity and in this situation, I just want to ask, how has it then been in Switzerland? What difference does it make when we react here in Switzerland when something is happening overseas? What difference is it making?
Well,
is there a need?
I will say you can't just say there is a need or there is no need. It does draw some attention. Like just as the one in the US has gathered a lot of momentum and has created a lot of attention, it does draw attention. So yes, to some extent there's a benefit. It depends on how it goes.
Do we not have enough? Sorry, go on.
No, I think there's a huge benefit in the fact that people around the world are uniting. Not just people around the world, but specifically the black diaspora, because in the past when these things happened and when I talked about these things to a lot of, African people I knew, a lot of people would respond very passively or they wouldn't really care. But now I feel like a certain gap is being bridged that African people all over the world and also non-African people around the world are standing in solidarity, condemning this act and saying, hey, no more. These are our brothers and sisters over there. And also, I believe that what the president of your country has done is amazing. The fact that they named last year of return.
Yeah.
A lot of people were able to come back and feel welcomed. I went, I felt welcome, and the more that happens, the more that interaction happens, this unity will keep growing, and that healing is coming. And it started years ago. I think during the inauguration day of Ghana's independence. Was it 57?
Yes, 1957, 6th of March.
That's right. So,
Well done, well done.
you had Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King attended. He came to Ghana.
Yeah.
You had Malcolm X. He came there.
Yes.
Another great Black American scholar, W.E.B. Du Bois. He went and lived in Ghana until he died. And so these are things that have started, and these are things that are making us heal. They're gonna help us heal. So
Really?
this solidarity is letting the world know, hey, we're not gonna just take this and turn a blind eye to our brothers.
That's fine. I agree with that. But then do we not have enough stuff to worry about here in Switzerland? Because we've said racism happens here. It's just not as obvious. Do we not have enough to worry about for us to be worried about the Americans over there?
For a day.
Well,
What do you mean? What, so it's not we don't have enough to worry about, so we have enough time to be worrying about something else?
For a day, yes.
well, the fact that our worries here,
What do you mean by
Go on, sorry.
the fact that our worries here are much milder than what's going on in the States, puts us also in a position of privilege to call that out. Because
Don't come at me. It's not me. This is
because yes, we do go through racism here. There are some horrible things that have happened and still happen to Black people here, and it's a continuous thing. But it's not to the extent that when we go outside of here, we're scared that we're going to be shot by a cop. It doesn't happen as frequent. It has happened before. It doesn't happen as frequent.
I did not even know that before I said that, but okay.
Yeah.
So we that are here, that are privileged and are living in this cuddly bubble, we have the responsibility to speak
Yes,
out
thanks.
and to stand in solidarity with those who can't. I mean, the Bible even says that.
Yeah.
So
And I also
I mean-
think it's just for us to be human.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
a human responsibility to do so. Before you said that, you don't expect, the Black people to stand, you expect the white people. Now, like we being in that bubble makes us actually giving us that privilege to also just be human and call that out and say, this is not right. And that is exactly what, I think what they want to achieve globally.
Yeah, so I agree with what Jenny said. And fine, we have we have our busy schedule. But still, we being human and showing support to our brothers, the humans in America or across the Atlantic Ocean is showing respect. And
So now that we're doing the human thing, how do you think we should do it the Christian way? Is there a difference? How should we handle it? Because obviously we are a I can't say the words. The majority of our church is Black. We are Black, right? So how do we handle this in a Christian way? How do we not end up growing bitter and full of hate as a result of what is going on around us and in Switzerland?
I think that the fact that we are able to speak about it, and that is what I want us to sort of separate, Speaking about it, raising awareness doesn't mean that we hate the other counterpart. You know what I mean? It's just raising awareness, and like Chris said, and that is what we expect the church to do. That's what we expect the leadership of the church to do, to not turn a blind eye on it. Now, I think there is a very thin, and I am also guilty of it, it's when you are of that race, when you are Black, and you see all that, it's very easy to grow angry. It's very easy to start cursing or whatever. And I think that is a place that we shouldn't let ourselves get to as Christians.
But how?
But-
We're human as well.
Yes, and that's what I'm like. We are, I think it's fine to get angry. We are Christians, but if an unrecht is being done, an injustice is being done, you call it out. You call it the way it is. And that is, I don't find anything wrong with it. I don't find anything, I don't find it like clashing with my beliefs.
Yeah.
I just find it even more hurtful if myself as a Christian will not react to it. But I think we should do it in a way, and that's why I always say, like, it's not a violent protest, we should do it in a way that we bring our voices out without keeping the bitterness in us. Does it make sense?
It makes sense. I'm just thinking of it practically. How would I do that? Because I'm a very emotional person.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel like I've been bitten, I might bite you back. How do we do this practically? This is my question, because this is our reality, unfortunately. Like, how do we deal with this?
For example, one of my friends, my wife friends, texted me,
Right.
and she was like, "How are you doing?"
Because of what's going on.
Actually, I don't know. I don't think she actually asked because of. I think part of it because then I was like, "I'm okay," and then she was like, "Okay, it doesn't sound like." And then I talked to her. I talked to her like, because of this, what's happening and all that. Now, if I was bitter, if I was not a Christian, if I was consumed, and I think you would be the same. I think it's fine to get angry. It's fine to be hurt about it, but it doesn't mean that I would then hate all of my white friends or have a bitterness against them or treat them differently, or you know what I mean. So I think that is us Christian coping with it. It doesn't mean that we have to have superpowers and still smile and still, be hally. We can communicate it openly in a,
So you think not reciprocating is doing the same as they're doing to us, like giving it back, is already the Christian way? Do you agree?
You mean passiveness, right?
No, like, you are being mean, so I'm going to be mean to you.
No.
So
we are not mean. We are,
No, I didn't get your question. So.
yeah.
So let's say, instead of being not overly nice, being the nice person you are, you already you dealing this the Christian way is by not giving back what you are being given.
I will never give back what I've been given, because that is what I'm fighting against, because I don't want any human to be given what is being given that I'm fighting against. So me fighting them, oh no, sorry, I'm not even fighting. What am I saying? me speaking against it doesn't mean only for black people. It means that for human, we are human, first human. So I'm not saying don't do it to black people, but do it to Latinas, but do it to white people. No, just don't do it at all. That is all we are saying. Just don't do it. So as a Christian, I don't expect to give back to what you've given. I just want you to stop.
Okay.
To stop it.
Yeah. Because they're saying you can't kill them. I don't know, kill them with... I don't remember how to kill them.
Jennifer, I think you've touched a bit on what I've been saying the whole evening.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Yeah, you've touched a bit on what... we can't fix this without understanding the love of Christ. And I know we can talk around it and avoid it and all that, but it comes down to that. That's why I keep saying that we are so broken as a people. And at every point in time, you're going to have the opportunity to take the law in your own hands, and whatever you do with it is up to you. You're going to put somebody in a disadvantaged position. And I think for me, the way the church comes in is, of course, about speaking about it. And I'm glad we have this opportunity to discuss it on radio this evening. Wrong is wrong. Yeah, no matter which race it is done to, it has to be called out. And there is a lot of rot in our society. It's not just about racism. There's a lot more, and all of this, I believe, can be fixed with the love of Christ. And preaching about it and also calling it out when it happens. I mean, I don't know a lot about this white pastors Chris is talking about in the US, but if it's like it's really true that they are silent about it, then it also shows their position about the whole thing. They have to be active. They have to actively speak out against it. Because even when Martin Luther King was on this revolution, he had a lot of whites supporting him. So it's not just about the black race per se. It's about the fact that there are certain things that wrong is wrong. You just don't do it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Is it America that they say in God we trust, right?
Which God now?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so to me, basically, I say if we say in God we trust, and I don't know. I mean, I hope it's the God, Jehovah God, that we served. Yeah. So if indeed it's the God that we serve, then I believe that the fundamental basis of me being a Christian, or the fundamental basis of Christianity to me, is love. So we have to show love to one another. As the Bible said, love your neighbor as yourself. So if I love my neighbor as myself, definitely I'm not going to stand on my neighbor's neck for 9 minutes. And then my neighbor, 9 minutes, and my neighbor is screaming, I can't breathe, and I'm still on it. Apparently this police guy has even worked with this black guy before.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And what kind of hatred will you have for a personality that you've worked with before? That you can put your knee on the neck for 9 minutes and then screaming, I can't breathe. So if the love of God is among us, if the love of God dwells among us, if it is indeed rooted in us, definitely I'm not going to, suffocate my fellow neighbor to such critical
we have to get
point.
to the point where we see people as people. And to be honest with you, I don't know. Probably I'm growing immune to certain things or whatever. Until this thing happened recently. I don't see people and switch to a certain because they are of a certain race, so I have to switch my personality or whatever it is. People are people.
People are people.
If we can speak a language and we can flow, I don't see any colors. For me, John chapter 13 verse 34 is very important. Jesus says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. I mean, the way Christ has loved us. The way Christ has loved us. If we can't do the same for our neighbors, just because he's of the black race or because he's of the other, whichever race, and we want to harm them, then something is fundamentally wrong with us. And I also want to share Romans chapter 10 verse 12. It says that there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same Lord is Lord of all, bestowing his riches on all who call on him. We are many, we are of so many different colors, but we all reflect the image of God. And I have to be able to understand that. I have to be able to get to the point of really, really understanding that. So first of all, the church must call it out that this is wrong. Openly, this is wrong. Right. And the church must consciously preach about Christ. Probably we have created different versions of the gospel. But if you really want to
ask the Father to forgive them, even though what they were doing was very wrong.
Right.
And based on that, afterwards, the gospel was being shared. So I asked myself, what can we do as Christians who are black, brown? Well, what we can do obviously is to pray. That's number one. But number two, what are our actions supposed to be? And I think the more we engage with people that don't look like us and don't have the same cultural heritage, and the more that they see Christ in us, that's when the change begins for them. And at the same time, while we're doing that, pastors of other communities, as they're doing that, will help bring that conviction to these communities. So I think that's what it's supposed to be. And also, like, something that I've observed, like, not just not just in Europe, but also in America, strongly in America, but I also see it here in Europe, like whether it's UK, Germany, Switzerland, I still see that, all right, we are the church, and as Elder Ernest said, he has seen kids that of different colors, they're hugging each other, they're playing, they don't even know that. But how come why is the church, even in Europe or in America, in like Western states, is still segregated? So we have to be that first example. That how can it be that we come in to church on Sunday morning and you see one church is all black people, one church is all white people.
Way, really?
That's how it is. And if we can be that example that, hey, in Christ there's unity, then there might be a change.
Okay.
But if they see the same example here and they see the same thing in the hood, then it's like we got to start that change.
We
I
have
believe.
to start from home.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Sure.
One scripture that has been calming me down lately these days is James 1, verse 19, where it says, "Understand this, my beloved brothers and sisters. Let everyone be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." So this is like a scripture that I saw from my Filner, many scrollings, and it really calmed me down. As in, as angry as you are, just calm down and listen. And that also goes to everybody. Like, what are you quick to do? Are you quick to just be angry without thinking of the person in front of you, without trying to understand? Just calm down and try to understand where the person is coming from. Now, we've talked about, racism being from home, being racism being not born with, right? So then we've established that these people that's what they were exposed to. That's what they've been fed with.
Yeah.
And so that in my mind right now, the point I've come to is that we can't do anything at this point. We can't do anything until that part is like ausgestorben, and then the ones coming up, that is where we can instill God. That is where we can instill understanding. That's where we can feed them with the love, with what is going around, with not degrading someone because of their skin color or whatever. Like what are we quick to do? Are we quick to get angry? No, we should be quicker to just listen, to pick our words carefully and wisely, to just listen. Now, listen doesn't mean you understand, but just listen, and they maybe it would then help you somehow understand the person, but you don't have to understand the action of the person. But
Well, I keep on saying this always, hit me, and the day that the name Christianity came about at Antioch, when the citizens or the individuals at Antioch looked at the disciples and they were like, these are Christians. How did they identify them as Christians? Because they led an exemplary life. From who? Jesus Christ. So I believe as Christians we should live an exemplary life. Exemplary life is what? Showing love. And as she also said, if you're confronted with such situation, just be calm and analyze the situation. But at the end of the day, how is your conclusion going to be? Your conclusion should be the foundation of what lives in you. And we say that he who lives in us is greater than in the world. So I believe we should show them love, and we should also educate them about it. We being Christian doesn't mean that we should also hold back and just show love without expressing ourselves. Expressing yourself means educate them and telling them, hey, what you're doing, take the human aspect of it. Take the human aspect of it. And if you look at it from these two perspectives, and then definitely you are there.
I like the scripture Jennifer shared. We have to be quick enough to listen and slow to speak or slow to react, because like there's this proverb that says that you don't throw away the baby with the dirty water. If you're not very careful, you just get emotional about it without really understanding the fundamental. To be honest with you, I've not been able to. There are certain videos I'm not really able to watch, especially when I see a
Same.
fellow human being suffering, I just can't bring myself to watch it. It hurts. So the video has come a couple of times on my phone because of the WhatsApp groups and all that, but I have not watched the entire video. I've seen the pictures and all that. If you're not very careful, it gets you all charged up to the point of ignoring the beautiful and amazing people in the other race that you know. You you sort of ignore the beautiful side, and that is also a mistake that a lot of black people are doing, and that is why I hate the way the demonstration is going in the USA, because there are I've seen a lot of white people with the black people demonstrating and all that, and yet things are getting out of hand, and it just destroys the whole motive. But my point is that there are the beautiful people. There's these amazing people in the white race as well, and so if you're not careful, you just jump to conclusions, and it becomes something that is not supposed to be. So we have to be really quick to listen, and be very slow to speak. By the time you are speaking, you really know what you're saying, because you might say something that you regret later on for the rest of your life. So I think that as Christians, we are going to leave very soon. We are ending the show very soon. As
do we
Christians,
have any input from the audience or something?
oh yeah,
I was
definitely.
going to do that, but he's taking over.
Oh, sorry. as because you sent me anyway. As Christians, what the scripture says in the book of Galatians should be our guide. The fruit of the spirit, and for me that has always been my angle. The people in the helm of affairs, those in the how do you call your parliament? The states,
Senate, Congress, whatever.
Right.
If these guys are not filled with the spirit, they will just go there with whatever spirit is driving them to make the decisions. Are they not aware? Have they not seen what is going on? I mean, the Secretary of Housing is a black man, Carson. Yeah. If you have people, if you have people ruling over you, that is why the Bible tells us to pray for those in authority.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
And they are not filled with the Spirit of God. They are not directed by God. Then you are going to have what is going on to go on. And so I believe that we need to be filled with the Spirit of God. We need to demonstrate what the scripture says in Galatians chapter 5, 18. That was the fruit of the Spirit. If those are in us, we'll have such a beautiful world.
100%, I agree.
Lovely. So that's bringing our show to an end today. Another quotation I would like to leave behind today is Proverbs 31:8-9, where it says that speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy.
Amen.
So when you see something and turn your cheek, that's not necessarily the most Christian way to do it, but there are ways to handle the things that are going on around us. So with this,
Any input?
I mean, I haven't gotten any input.
Well,
are there any inputs, you guys?
It's I
listening?
think Nicky Daniel who wrote
Very interesting.
how will the church address the issue of racism?
Okay,
Basically,
we've
we
touched on
tackled
that.
it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Check.
Does the church even understand the issue of race in the church?
Oh,
That is a good
I
one.
would say. I think that racism is made to be such a touchy subject that people are not comfortable to talk about it.
Yes.
And
definitely.
it's only touchy because we have made it touchy. It shouldn't be you talking about your race, the color of your skin, where you come from, should not be a shameful thing.
no.
So we should normalize this, and that's why I was saying we should normalize being black. We should normalize where we come from, our background. So it is definitely something we have to be taught. And again, it starts from our homes. This means church and our actual homes as well.
Because finally,
Again,
Revelation chapter 7 verse 9.
Exactly, that's what I've opened over here. That's what I was going to say about what
Okay.
One
Nicky
of
Daniel
you
said.
just say it, please.
After
Yeah.
this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number,
Beautiful.
from every
Beautiful.
nation, from every nation.
Beautiful.
So
Exactly.
probably I will be in a very typical gown dress with my beads on my hands and all that, reflecting where I come from.
Lovely.
You know, and there are, when we meet in the presence of God on that day, we're going to be very beautiful, different kind of people. So I don't understand why here we have to hit ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And people should just understand there is one race, and that's the human race,
Human
period.
race.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've given.
And then I love the
last one.
fact that
Oh, no,
you
no.
said also that this situation shouldn't also make us ignore the fact that we have beautiful friends from other races. To be particular, I have beautiful friends. I mean,
Okay then.
friends that I can say that this is a brother.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that's my input, and my input is let's show love. I mean, love conquers all.
All right.
Amen. So that's our final word for today. We'd like to thank you for listening in, for staying in with us, and we wish you a lovely evening. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you again soon.
And thank you for the invite too.
Of course, you're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Wait. Before
Hold
you
on,
guys
hold on.
you guys
Wh-
leave.
what is it?
So this just as we finish with this program and we leave the studio, we are going to have. Look, I told you guys to write the name for me, so we are going to have. Oh, okay. But next week, is it next week?
They don't even know.
Okay, we will let you know. We will let you know.
Yes.
We are going to have DJ Kenny and Michael on the mix.
All right. All right.
Listen, you don't want to miss this. It's better than going to the club or anything. You're going to get gospel music in different styles, and you're going to be blessed. So, make sure you tune in and stay blessed.
All right. Bye.